Peace. Welcome back to my channel. I haven't went live in a long time. It's been a few months. I've been really busy with life, busy being a mom, busy just enjoying, what I've created for myself. And I thought I'd hop on today. I'm outside. We're back to our outside walks because, I live on the East Coast and where I live, the sun is going to go away soon. And so I try to get these conversations in during my walks. But I wanted to check in with you guys because A, it's been a long time, and B, just to check in and see how you're doing, especially now that we're in the fall season and we are through 3/3 of the year almost and going into that final quarter where we are looking at what we created for the year, right? So I know about this time for me, I'm starting to think and not just see some of the stuff that I've created manifest, but also have some realizations around how I could have showed up differently and how I get to show up differently in the future. And, just a lot of those lessons are coming to the front. Hey, David. A lot of those lessons are coming to the front. And some of them are great lessons that I can expand on. And some of them are lessons that will take me time to develop exactly what I'm learning or what I'm getting, right? So it'll take some time. One of the things that has been with me for the last few weeks, actually it's been a little bit more than a few weeks, but I've been honing in on it for the last few weeks, is that the concept that some things that I'm working on healing around. Good morning, Shamika. Some things that I'm working on healing through. And I knew this, some things are going to be lifetime things. But some things are not going to be done the way that I think in my head that ideally it should look, you know what I mean? And also like the level of compassion that I get to have for myself and how misplaced it has been. I'm not very good at being compassionate towards myself. I really have worked on focusing my compassion outward. And these last few months have really spotlighted how I get to be compassionate towards myself a lot more, especially in my healing process, because I'm so used to just getting through things, pushing through, and finding a way to tie up ends neatly so that I can be satisfied with what is happening, that sometimes I bruise myself unintentionally and I don't allow myself to heal fully from something that happened because I just want that thing to be off my list, right? I want to move on. And also, I want to, especially if it's an issue I have with another person, I want that relationship to either be in the space of working or not working, right? So sometimes I have let that idea push my movement forward when it was really supposed to be stagnant, like, or still, like, I was supposed to just accept that this space is not going to be resolved anytime soon. Like this space might take much longer than I wanted it to take to be resolved and be a well space, if it ever will be. One thing that has been clear for me on this journey is my relationship with my mom is one of those things. I teeter-tottered most of my life trying to create a space where she felt safe, where I felt safe, and that we'd have these conversations, that we don't address a lot of things that happen, and that I let sleeping dogs lie, and that I never feel complete around some of our interactions that have affected me to this day. And I just get to live with it. I just get to deal with it because, in essence, that is how most of her counterparts and her parents, have taught her to deal with, or, her to deal with the things that happen to her. And that's how she's dealt with them. So she's like, why can't you just do the same thing? And, I know that wouldn't work for me because it's inauthentic to how I move in the world, and it's inauthentic to my purpose, which is to do this work, which is to do this healing work for myself and for my family, so that my children, my daughters, my son do not engage with their children if they choose to have them in the same way, and that we stop these cycles of abuse, of abandonment, of neglect, of harm now. And the only way you can do that is by acknowledging that they happen. You can't stop cycles by acting like they didn't happen, because just like we know, anything that gets swept under the rug comes out eventually. And it'll come out in your behavior, it'll come out in your interactions, it'll come out in your thoughts and your words. That's how it comes out. And so finding a gentle space where I can still have love and compassion for her, but still have the compassion that I need to have for myself and the care that I need to have for myself, was really about working on my boundaries really hard, but not from like a, well, fuck you then conversation. It's like, really, it's just like, they're whacking weave. It's like, you get a couple of nice days and everybody brings out the lawnmowers. But from a space of, I see that you're unable to give me what I need. And since you cannot do that, this is what this space will look like. These are my boundaries, because I know that because you are not able to give me what I'm asking for, that you are harmful, will be harmful. And I have to, in essence, be clear enough to protect myself. Good morning, God mine. Clear enough to protect myself and to protect my children from the behaviors and the thoughts and the that you have that you are not willing to address. So this is what our relationship will look like. This is what your relationship with my children will look like. And it's not, so here she would say, oh, well, that's not ideally what I want. So we are not, she's not getting what she wants. I'm not getting what I want. So we got to find a middle ground, right? She would want a full-on relationship with her grandkids. This relationship with me that's in depth, where we don't address anything, but we have a connection. And I don't feel like that is, appropriate if we're not going to be accountable to each other. And so finding a middle space, what does that middle space look like, was a lot of work. And it caused me to start thinking about compassion for myself, because I was judging myself so deeply about the fact that I didn't feel comfortable leaving my children with her, because I knew that she doesn't know how not to do things that I asked her not to do. Or even me being at her home, because her home is not in a safe space, and she wants to stay in a space where, things are chaotic. So I had to figure out how to choose those boundaries. And at first it was kind of like, I felt bad. I felt really bad, because it's like, this is your mom, right? But this is also my mom. I know my mom. I know her. I know who she is. I know her capabilities. Can she be kind, loving, and all of those things? Yes. But she could also be abusive, neglectful, and hurtful and harmful. And so I can't just keep my eye on the ball of the thing that I desire from her and act like those other things don't exist, if I'm going to be the type of mom that I say I'm going to be towards my kids. So creating that space has taken a lot out of me in these last year or so, because I felt bad. Like a couple of years ago, my sister actually called me and was like, you need to let mom see the kids, and you need to let mom do this and let mom do that. And I was just like thinking back to Um, like I felt like attacked, you know. But then I was clear and I was like, when you let mom do that with your child, what happened? Your child was abused. Your child was neglected. Your child abused other children. They were put in precarious situations because you don't have no ethos. You don't have a personal ethics or morals around how you view your family. And so you'll let anybody come into your space just because they're quote unquote family. I don't have, I have a personal ethos. I have an ideal that I want for my children. I have values. I have a system of love and protection that I instill in my space every day. And so why would I allow my children to be in a space where with somebody who does not have that same ethos or even similar, you know what I'm saying? So even when we're looking for schools for our kids, I'm looking at that. What is this school's ethos? What are they obtaining? Are they obtaining that our children should have childlike innocence in this space? They should be able to explore. Or is this space heavy on, what do you call that? Behavioral, what do you call that? What you call that? Punishment and behavioral, for honing in on kids' behaviors and treating them differently because of that. You can look at all those things when you're looking at public spaces for your children to be in. I would not put my children in a class that was made for them to feel neglected and abandoned and harmed. If that was the personal ethos of the space, it's not about their connecting to themselves, not feeling loved, not feeling protected, not feeling taught or educated, or feeling well in the space, they can't go to the space. So why would I do that same thing just because someone is family? And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like we think, I think oftentimes we think that it's so hard to find those types of spaces because of the spaces that are available to us are so heavily functioning under lots of duress and lots of disconnection. And so, even like we end up in neighborhoods where the schools are less connected to the children and the adults in the neighborhood are disconnected. There's this whole environment that is created prior, right? And so if I live in an environment that is out of alignment with my personal morals, my personal view, how I feel, then I'm going to create something that I don't want. That's the biggest thing. So once I got over that hump in my life, like, you're not being discompassionate or non-compassionate because you have these values that you want your children to be exposed to and you want yourself to be exposed to. This is the same way, like you thinking about being married to someone or being in a relationship with someone. If your morals and your ethics don't line up, it's going to be a horrible relationship because it's going to be hard to see where the other person is coming from. Because it's just like, if I'm going to be in a relationship with you and you think that you should have an open relationship and I think we should have a closed relationship, we don't have the same thing. But you'll see people all the time try to get in a relationship with people who have varying and different views, thinking that they can change that person's ethos. Thinking that they can change the way that the person moves through the world with love. And I'm going to tell you, love is powerful, right? It's an amazing gift. And we're all blessed if we have one person other than ourselves who loves us. We're all blessed, but it's not a cure-all. It does not heal and transform people that do not want to be transformed and healed. It just doesn't. Like, Disney really has done a number on us. We think that this fairy tale way that people are just going to feel the love emanating from the space and you treating them well and you being present for them, and they're going to see that and they're going to value it so much that they're going to say, you know what? Why don't I be a decent person? They're not. They're not. That's an inside job. It's an inside job. It's an inside job. If I if I am used, let me just say this. If I keep my home cluttered, right? I keep my home cluttered because I like to keep everything. I have a hoarder mentality or a lack conversation, so I hold on to everything, right? And then somebody comes over, sees my home cluttered, and says, hey, without me asking or prompting, let me help you clean this up. Let me help you organize this, because I care about you and I want you to live in a space that is conducive to your well-being. And I'll say yes. Of course I'll say yes, for the most part, or I'll be like, oh, I don't know. But most time people don't say absolutely no. They'll be like, oh, okay, I guess. And you go over and you do all that. You clean their whole house up. You organize it from front to back. You help them get rid of things that they don't need anymore. And voila. You feel good about yourself. You feel great. You feel so accomplished. You helped this person that didn't ask for your help. And then you go on about your life and you come back and the house is twice as bad as it was in your assertion to you for your personal ethos. Not theirs, than it was the first time. Why? Because you didn't help change the person. You changed the environment to your liking because it was important to you. You didn't even ask them why they needed this clutter, why they needed to hoard anything, why they needed to hold on to all these things. You just asserted that you could not live like that and that you were being helpful. And the loving thing to do is to help them get rid of some stuff so they can feel lighter, They didn't even ask. And now you're dismayed because you walked into this house and shit is stacked to the ceiling now, where before it was only stacked to the wall, shoulder. And you're like thinking to yourself, how did it get like this? Because you interrupted a process. And that's what we often do. We interrupt other people's process. And I was doing that for years with my mom. She would tell me, oh, I want to sew clothes. I go buy her a sewing machine. Did she ask me to buy her a sewing machine? No, she did not. But me, because this is the type of mother I wanted. I'm trying to mother my parent. I'm trying to give her the things that I would desire because I want her to see how valuable she is to me, that I love her, in hopes that she would see that. And then she would return it. Do you think she sold anything with that sewing machine? Not one damn thing. Not one thing. All for the last 3 years, I've been trying to get her to move out of the childhood apartment that she lived in with my sister, which is infested with vermin. Put her on the list. Got her 2 interviews to get new apartments. This is me. This is what I would want. This is how I want to treat my loved one. My loved one did not ask. They talked about it. She did talk about it. She was like, oh, I need to get out of here. So I heard that complaint and I went to fixing. A lot of us do this. We do this in all types of relationships. We hear somebody have a little groan and we instantly hop in and start moving shit around because this is how we would want people to operate in our lives. And what I learned was, this is how I operate in my life. And if nobody asks for it, they don't get it. I don't care if it's your mama, your sister, your cousin, your brother, your best friend. If they cannot voice or vocalize this need and why they need it and what they're willing to do to have this thing, wait until that shows up. I'm not saying leave them behind or don't worry about it. Wait until that shows up. It might take years. But do not interfere because it's going to leave you with all what it left me with. I'm not going to talk about you. I'm talking about me. What it left me with was this feeling that I was raw all the time. And what that was the lack of compassion that I had for myself. I had so much compassion for her and her situation that I wasn't thinking about the fact that I'm still healing from our relationship. I'm still carrying around scars from my childhood that cannot be changed. That cannot be changed. I'm literally blind in one eye because she pulled my eyeball out. Every day, I have to get in the car and, by grace of God, say, you know what, we're gonna drive around with one eye. These are both my real eyes, but one of them don't work. They don't have sight. I was not born that way. That is what happened from abuse. And I have to deal with that every day. And we never had a conversation about it. She never broaches this conversation. She's not willing to deal with this, the responsibility of that conversation that I have to deal with the responsibility of every day. Every day. And that is not being compassionate for yourself. When you're sitting up here literally harmed by someone and you're so overinvested in their wellness that you are neglecting yourself. And this is not just here, it shows up in other relationships. And I've really had to pull back and figure out, how do I navigate the world knowing this about myself? And then knowing that because I have survived very horrible things, that I know I will survive many things. Like the things that most people think are bad are mid-level to me, lower tier to me. Because I've survived very horrible things very early on in life. So a lot of things don't really get my goat. I don't have it for it. You know, I'm just like, oh, I'm already in my head, like, how do I get to the other side of that? So yeah, I just want to remind you in this season, as we end the fall and we go into the winter where things are changing and we're leaving the things that we no longer need behind, to be more compassionate to yourself. If there's something you're holding on to because you think you have to do it, or you feel responsible for it, or you think nobody else won't do it, it's probably not yours to do either, or not to do in the way that you think you need to do it. Be kind and compassionate to yourself and let yourself figure out, what does that even look like? What does maintaining this space look like? And why are you maintaining the space? That's my biggest. Why am I maintaining this space? Because I have some childhood desire to have things turn out perfectly, or I have some motherhood desire because I have a great relationship with my kids and I get to see them every day smiling and happy, that I somehow feel like I missed out on that and I want to see if I can have that same thing. It's a hard way to, assess yourself, because you have to be real with yourself. Like, maybe you weren't born here for that. Maybe I was born here to have the relationship that I had so that I can create the relationship that I have with my kids. Maybe that's the whole purpose, right? Maybe that's the whole reason why I had the childhood I had, because I know so much differently how to build with my children. I know their value, intrinsic value. I respect them as people. And also to learn to respect and value myself on the other end. So I hope this helps anybody who's in this season and ready to shed, ready to let go, ready to transform into a space that you didn't think was possible for you because you've been holding on to other people's stuff and claiming it as your own. You deserve compassion, and most of all, from yourself. All right, y'all. Hope y'all have a beautiful rest of the week. I ain't making no promises about me getting on this internet. I try to come over here, but it's just not my thing that much no more. I'll talk to y'all later. Take care. Peace.